we're back with another episode of the Youth Ministry Booster Podcast. Hanging out in the garage with my friend Anthony.
Yes, sir.
What's up, buddy?
Much.
Dude, thanks for making the drive on a Saturday.
That's right.
You're a weekend warrior, man. We're going to hang out. We're going to record in the garage today on a Saturday. Anthony, how was the drive up?
Oh, it was so good. It's simple, easy drive. But, this is youth ministry, working overtime on the weekend.
Working for the weekend, youth ministry. But it's the right season for it, man.
That's right.
It's college football season, which means sneak in that rest time, fun time, TV time. We're going to get this thing knocked out before all the games kick off this afternoon.
That's right.
Does that
I'm
sound good?
missing college game day for this.
No, that's okay. We're going to finish on time. No, I promise. We're going to finish on time. We're going to get the kickoff. It's going to be great. You can make your predictions. It'll be so
Roll
good.
Tide.
Oh, okay. Starting off very aggressive. So, Anthony, college football allegiances. Just go ahead and divide the audience. Like, who are you for? Why did you end up that way? Why are you the way you are?
Let me just say this. Nick Saban is the GOAT of college football. Well, I'm born and raised in Mississippi, and I lived on the state line of Alabama.
Oh, so you had a choice. You had a choice.
I had a choice. Everybody else went for Alabama, so I wanted to be a winner too.
Okay.
So I just hopped on, and I started driving the bandwagon, now we're here.
Are you like a Yankees fan too? Is it like Yankees and Patriots and all
Dodgers.
that? Picking winners. Just picking winners. No, that's good. I know that for a lot of our folks, like this is the changing of the seasons, right? Like this is from summer to fall.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's college football Saturday or Friday Night Lights, like this is a measure of a feeling of the seasonal shift in youth ministry. So, man, are you ready? Like, I know that you are serving in Yukon, Oklahoma, which means Mustang Yukon. Not always perennially awesome in football, but like, what does Friday Night Lights look for y'all?
Oh man, it's fun. Let's just say this: Friday Night Lights is electric.
It is.
It's either
win or lose.
It's either electric or entertaining, to say the least. And Oklahoma football, man, it's something else. I'm starting to learn.
Dude, can we just talk about I know that Texas and Bama and Georgia have some strong programs. Oklahoma's take it pretty seriously.
They take it pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Yes.
As someone who transplanted in, and because you did Texas for a while, and then now you're here. It's a different thing, right?
I'm starting to learn the culture a little bit. But, just seeing them do 2-a-days, practicing, getting ready. I'm in the locker rooms in Mustang. I mean, they got culture. The coach is all in, and you better just work it all out and be all in when lifting weights and stuff. So it's pretty fun. But I went to a practice the other day, and some teams look better than others. And they were practicing field goals. And the kicker,
an important part of every team. Again, whether you're a kicking team or not, it's important. It matters.
Win or lose the game, man. The kicker kicked the ball, hit a lineman in the back. So they still got some work to do, that being said.
Just like Happy Gilmore them, just smashed him in the back with the ball.
Oh man. So a little coaching needed.
What is someone that's in the locker rooms with teams, like what are some of the things that are just like noticing about like coaches and players that are like ministry curious to you? Because I feel like there's like certain like overlapping, like the little diagrams of like 3 circles. Like not all coaches are ministers, not all ministers coaches.
Sure.
But there is an overlap.
There's
something there. So like, what are some of those things that like? What are you looking for? Like, oh man, that guy's gonna be a good coach. Like, what are some of the things when you listen to him like pep talk or do? You're like, oh man, that's gonna be a good coach.
That's good. Okay. Well, firstly, I'm noticing everybody's listening.
Okay.
Everybody's listening to the leader. There's got to be a leader that believes in it, believes in them, and that he has values too when it comes to the locker room. Like everybody's strong. That we're a winner. They say this all the time. What's our standard? And everybody says excellence,
coach. Yeah.
So
100%.
They got culture. They got values, and everybody's just locked in. Man, that's a good word for the body of Christ.
Well, I mean, and again, I think it's one of those too. Like, especially for like us, like students can acknowledge it, can see it. Like there are moments in their life where they see the focus, they see the lead, and the conviction, like the belief, the standards, the values.
Come on.
It matters. It matters. Well, man, you were so kind. You brought your family today. They're hanging out.
That's right.
There is a 1 in 4 chance that a kid under the age of 8 may run in and just check on us.
I love it.
And we're super excited about it. So, dude, thank you for sharing your family today and spending some time with us.
Sure thing.
For folks that don't know you, one of the reasons that you're here is because you literally are here in Oklahoma
That's
now,
right.
and we got connected through some different things. Tell us a little bit about, man, just like where you're at now, because I want to ask some questions about what it's like to start new new season, new things. There's a lot of our listeners that may be at their church for less than a year. I know that you've been there for a year and a half, couple years now.
Yep.
So like, tell us where you're at and what it's like to be new at a place, because you're not new to ministry. You've been around for a minute, but you're relatively new to where you're serving now.
Yeah, new to where I'm serving now, because I'm born and raised Mississippi, and 25 years, man. Went to Mississippi State, and I did, before I moved from Mississippi to Dallas, I did youth ministry for 5 years. Then went to seminary in Dallas, but also did youth ministry there. And about a little over a year ago, got a phone call about Yukon, Oklahoma. And
I had to look it up.
That's right. Where's Yukon, Oklahoma? Yukon America is what they say.
What is a Yukon America? That sounds like Alaska. Yeah.
I'm thinking University of Connecticut.
Like, there it is. Yeah, go
So,
Huskies. Yeah.
Had to look it up, and eventually just had a conversation about what it would look like, me coming there to be a youth pastor, and just began praying about it with my wife. And we accepted a call of God on our life to move everything we knew. My wife's 8 months pregnant at the time.
That's right. Yeah.
And we left and moved to Yukon, and it's been an incredible year in Oklahoma. We love it so much. 20 minutes west of OKC, and just being a new guy, I haven't experienced that in a while, and it was just everything, all the memories from moving from Mississippi to Dallas, rushed back, having to build something again, having to start fresh again, having to learn new things. And so it's been a year of learning, growing, and just being a part of a new family.
What are some of the things that you would give as like wisdom for somebody like the Mississippi to Texas, the Texas to Oklahoma? Like, what are some of the things about being new would you encourage someone who's in a new, maybe not brand new to ministry, but in a new role? Like, these are some of the questions you should be asking, or some of the things you should be pulling together, like, because it can feel like a lot. So like, what are the priorities for you? If you had to do it again, like, what are the things you would recommend as like, these are the top few things that you need to do when you're new?
Yeah, that's good. Well, I will say I've learned things that you can do well, but I've also learned things that you shouldn't do at all in the first few months.
Okay.
So I would just say,
I like a cautionary tale. What are some things that we should not do?
Well, I think it goes back to the priority of youth ministry, and it has to be, if it's on your job description or not, relationships. The greatest commodity we have in ministry is a stewardship of people.
Yeah.
We're in the people business.
Yeah, man.
So when it comes to youth ministry, it's all about knowing your sheep. And I would just say this, I think I got this right in the couple of times I had to transition to a new place, is learning the names of people.
Yeah.
You know, I received a lot of affirmation, encouragement, and compliments. Man, this guy knows our name. And honestly, it took a lot of behind the scenes of looking at rosters, praying over names, affiliating with family members, and just knowing the people's names, so that a couple weeks in, I can call you by name. That honestly moves the needle faster than you think when it comes to the relationship side of things.
So more than anything else, actually knowing the people. And I think that's can be really overlooked. Like, you're like, well, here's the things that we're going to do and what we're going to make happen.
Yep.
But that is, because that's the catch-up work, right? Like, that's the thing that, like, you when you're new, you've been practicing the thing that you can do.
Yeah.
The thing that you haven't been able to practice until you get into the situation is to know the actual people that you're serving. And so to be able to know as many parents and families and students by name as quickly as possible, like, is, I mean, I don't know, that feels like a fresh work that maybe we can forget if you've served one place for too long. Is you're like, well, I know everybody. And so being new that way. What are some other things that you would do or not do?
So I would say this, you don't want to change anything so fast.
Okay, but like, people say that, but give us a timeline. So like, you've been there a year. Have you changed some things? Like,
yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
I will say this.
Everybody says don't, and then it's like, well, like, here's a couple things that we did.
Yeah, so sure. One of the things I did going into this new role is survey the people.
Ask them. Okay.
I want to
put it on them.
That's right. Everybody has a voice in this youth ministry. I want to hear their heart. I want to hear their. I'm not necessarily looking for your opinion, right?
Sure.
But I want to hear any sort of feedback that might help move the ball down the field, if you will.
Okay.
I surveyed the students, and then in a different survey, I gave the adult volunteers, the leaders of the ministry, a voice.
What's their take?
Yeah. So I asked questions like, "Hey, what do you like most about Together We students? What's What's something that you want to change that will help us all? And those things that I saw were low-hanging fruit to change immediately, that I didn't come in looking to change stuff, but I saw something everybody was in agreement to. We need a leader to solve this issue.
Maybe some of the unsaid things,
Yeah.
or like, I don't know. I think for some folks, trying to identify not just the thing they're saying, but like the value behind it, right? Like it may
Yes.
not be like, they may not be mad about the camp location. They may be mad about like how camp has been planned, or it may not be that like we don't want to do events or lock-ins. It's just that like we didn't get enough communication about it or whatever.
So just to give you an example, like it's not they don't like the curriculum because it was just too hard to understand the curriculum when it was given the morning of.
Right. It's too much to read 6 pages 5 minutes before we start.
Yeah.
You give that bad boy to me on a Tuesday.
Let's change the process.
I've got a chance.
That's right. they can actually talk and know what they're saying.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's one of the things is just you don't want to change everything too fast, but. On the other side of that, the flip side of the coin, I would say this: if we're afraid of change, I think that's a missed opportunity to see growth. So don't be afraid to change things, but just don't go in there like a tyrant and say, "I'm going to change this whole place up."
Well, and make it your change. I think that's one of the things that you've named is like, if it's coming from the survey, it's not my change. This is what we've heard when we've asked. And that's such an important piece, because man, all growth requires change. Like,
Sure.
I mean, growth means change. Like, something is different about what you do and who you are. And if that's been, again, for a lot of folks in a new role, in a new position in church, probably one of the reasons you got asked into that was not to just keep everything like it is. Because if they just wanted it like it is, I mean, they wouldn't have asked you. But even by asking you, it's something new. And so that's an important piece. So
That's good.
What are some reflections now? It's been a little over a year or so. Like, what are some things that, like, man, I'm so glad that this is different, or we see maybe into like what like the next wave of stuff is?
Sure. Well, one of the things I'm just most excited about is that we shifted from a student pastor ministry to a student ministry.
Okay.
We've empowered and equipped students to do the work of the ministry.
Okay.
And the Bible teaches that we got to equip the saints. And I think one of the things I've just grown in throughout the years is leading through people. Back 10 years ago in youth ministry, I was a do-it-all.
Yeah.
I'm the guy. I'm going to do everything, right? But now
I have a lot of energy. I'll just expend all of it. Yeah.
And I put my family on the altar for the sake of it, right?
Yeah.
It's just you're a young, go-getter, driven type of dude, but over the years I've just grown in my leadership, and I've learned, okay, I can do more through others. We can accomplish the vision, the mission through other people, not just by myself. So I think one of the most things I'm excited about the most is moving forward. We've got a bigger team, a student leadership team, a Together We team that can help grow the ministry, because healthy things grow. We want to see that. So I think over the next year and the future is just building that team up, making sure we're empowering others to do what they're called to do, equipping them with the tools in their tool belt to get it done, and just celebrating the wins as we go. So I think that's what we're most excited for.
Well, that's one of the things we wanted to talk about today, because this is, I think, the season. We've posted about it in our Booster Network. We've talked about it with some other friends. But one of the things I know about you, and I've seen evidence of, is the willingness and the committedness to mobilize students beyond just showing up every week. Because I think that's always the tension, is like, there's a lot of youth ministry leaders that want more out of their kids.
Sure.
But secretly what they want is just them to attend more frequently.
Yeah.
But there's something that we've talked about a lot, and I want just for you to share with our folks, like, what are some of the ways in which you're doing that? What is some of the things that, like, the trust it takes that to happen? But, like, how are you, because you've named it, you do it, you lead through teams. How are you mobilizing students beyond just, like, the weekly, like, hey, make sure to come back next Wednesday?
Yeah, that's good. Well, we do have a student leadership team for sure that does a lot of serving in the local church. But as the influence team, what we call it, I tell them, man, leadership is influence. And God has given you leadership influence on your school campus, not only to be a bringer and invite people to come and see what God's doing, but also to mobilize you. And I tell them all the time, you are a Christian student, right? You're a missionary on your campus.
Yeah.
The number one goal is not to get an A or to get a touchdown. That's a part of it, right? But the first thing you got to remember is that you're mobilized on your campus to reach other people. I think one of the ways we've equipped our students to have this mindset is to teach them what does it look like to navigate real-time conversations and transition them into gospel conversations.
Okay.
I mean, I'm telling you, from opener, how to get a conversation started, to transition statements that you could use, to even developing a reach list to begin praying for your friends.
Okay.
Those are the things we're trying to teach our younger students now, because I just believe if we get this younger generation now with the habitual items of, praying for people, opening up conversations, telling people about Jesus, then in 10, 20 years from now,
Yeah, man.
our world's going to change because they're going to do it in the workplace too.
Well, so walk us through that a little bit, because one of the things is the practice of man, how do we talk? What do we say? Where does that happen? Is that happening in leadership team meetings? Is that happening in small groups? Where are some of these conversations around? I mean, we'll talk about more about preaching in a minute, but where are some of the things related to opening students up, training, doing, practicing? Where does that stuff happen at?
So everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay, good. Okay.
But specifically, we just did a influence team training. We do training a couple of times a year, and our last training, we went to the downtown library.
Okay.
In OKC.
Like there's books kind of library.
Yeah. Wouldn't recommend it because I forgot that the library is a public place. So there's a lot of people there.
Oh yeah, man.
Like homeless people outside.
Yeah, it's a thoroughfare for all kinds of folks.
It was sketch. It was sketch.
Yeah.
So next time I'll have them sign a liability form. But anyways, so we rented out.
You can come hang out at our Walmart here if you want. Yeah, dude. Our Walmart's a mission field for sure. Yeah.
We rented out a space. It was super nice. I mean, but we just gathered our team together. There's about 60 students, and we just had real-time gospel training, how to evangelize, how to talk about your faith, how to share your testimony, and just did it in the library together in a room. But
off campus, not
off campus,
not on Wednesday night program, whatever. Off campus,
that's right,
for those that were interested. All right,
that way they can leave the library and share with the homeless people.
All right,
I mean, do something.
There you go.
So
pray as you go.
Come on, pray as you go. So we do that in our trainings, our small groups. We'll talk about it too.
Okay.
And have opportunities for them to share. Preaching from stage, I mean, we preach it to death. I feel like we keep.
Well, we'll come back to that, because that is one of the areas that talking with you, I think, is a giftedness of you for sure, but also I think an area of interest, especially as we go into the rhythm of a school year.
Sure.
How do your adult leaders respond to this? Because that's one of the things I think sometimes as a youth minister, we can have a real passion and desire for we want this from our students. And our adults are like, yup, but you're asking the adults to participate and help with this as well. So what does that look like to, again, those small group leaders, those adult team members? How do you get them not just bought in, but helping out?
Yeah, I would say, number one, vision leaks.
Okay.
If I'm continually casting vision to my student staff,
okay,
every week on my agenda is his personal
leadership
evangelism.
down. Yeah,
that's right. It starts with the top. I'm asking, hey, what gospel conversations have you had this week?
Yeah.
So I'm starting there, and our leader rallies every Sunday. We're celebrating wins of evangelism. That conversations are happening.
And the rally is staff and volunteers Sunday morning before.
15 minutes before we start. I go over anything I need to communicate, celebrate, and coaching.
Okay.
So they're constantly hearing wins of evangelism.
Okay. Across the whole team. So this is not just from stage, but as a team.
As a team.
Hearing the win as a team. Okay.
What's happening in your small group? What's happening in your personal life?
That's good.
And I also involve them to our mission trips, our share days, and things that we do real-time evangelism. So it's not just students. We're inviting adults to be a part of it too. So it's really cool to see an adult alongside of a small group student.
Yeah.
See them just give the example of what it looks like.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm doing it. I'm just bringing them alongside the journey. It can't be just staff-led. It's got to be together.
That's good.
So
that's good. Well, tell us a little bit more. You mentioned it, and I think it's important to talk about. The school year is great because it is a rhythm.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is a rhythm is teaching week in and week out. This is both some people's favorite part of the work, right? Getting to teach or to preach or to speak or to communicate. Call it what you want. Slice it however you need to. Prepping and preparing. This is one of the sites that most folks cast vision from, to the students, to the ministry. this is what we're about. This is what I want you to know. It's content and information, but like, man, what does that look like for you? Like, what have you learned is important about preaching and teaching specifically to your students? Like, what is the most important elements? Like, what's actually happening?
Come on. I go back to what Ben Trueblood teaches.
Okay.
Too. The Experience Conference was amazing. I still go back to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been preaching over a decade, but I think one of the most vital elements, even Ben Trueblood says, you communicate more off stage than you do on stage.
Okay.
It's all about building the trust off stage, relationships, the relational deposit, the equity.
Yeah.
You need that before you go on stage. Now, if you're in youth ministry and you're just living for the platform, I got to tell you.
Just want that mic, man. I got stories. I need people to hear them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
If you're calling people out for... So I would just say this: it's all about relationships, man. You preach more in the conversations than you do on the platform.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've learned a ton. I learned a ton on what I've done wrong in the past when it comes to preaching and things that I could get better at. There's two sides of preaching. It's the hermeneutics, right?
Yeah.
It's the time in the office. Some of us don't like this because we're going in the gold mine. We're digging.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
We're hoping to find something, right? Sometimes it feels like, man, I got nothing. Yeah.
Come on. Been there. A blank page. You stare at it, right?
Yeah.
You got the hermeneutical side, but then you got the homiletics, right? The art of actually preaching the content. So there's a couple of things I've learned in youth ministry, and I would say we got to start with what is it? The pathos, right?
Okay.
You got the audience. That has to be a key aspect of your preaching. You got to know your sheep.
Okay.
Here's a sheep I know. It's a generation with an attention span deficit.
Okay.
Not a fault to them. It's just they've grown up with technology, and it takes them about 8 seconds to dictate if they're going to watch this YouTube video or not.
Yeah,
So,
they're deciding before the skip hits. That's right.
Come on. So
and you are too. Before we get too judgmental. Yeah.
So you got to know that you only got so long with an open Bible that they're going to listen to you. And that first minute, if I can just give this encouragement to anybody that's new at preaching, that first minute is your most important minute.
Dude, come on.
You've got to reel them in such a way to provide some sort of tension, pain point, problem where it gets
here's the stakes. Like here's why it even is worth listening to. Yeah.
You want to pull them on the edge of their seat to say, I've got to listen to this guy. I've got to listen to him. If they hear you week after week, you got to reset it week after week.
Yeah, that's right.
So that first minute is the most important minute. So when you're in your office and you're prepping and you're seeing the scripture come to light, whether you got a scope and sequence of the year, our team developed ours. We pick 4 books, outline the books.
Which, let's go ahead and be clear, most of that is to help your prep than it is for students' retention.
Sure.
Let's just go ahead and say it. Like, it's cool and it's savvy, and when you get really clever and creative, it's good. It's more to help you. The students are showing up, right or no? Yeah,
no, you're spot on, bro.
just say like we're like, no, guys, and then we're gonna move from this to that. Okay, cool. Yeah. They, I'm sure they remember all of it. They probably do, but it's meant to help you. Yeah.
Come on. So you're prepping in your office, you're getting that sermon ready, and you got to have the candle, the lamp, the lo-fi beats, right?
Hold on. Okay. No, we're here. We're in the moment. Take us through your process. Like what, like you said it, you teased it. Like, do you have like an environment?
It's a ritual.
Okay, come on. Okay, tell us. Like we talk about ritual prep and coffee a lot, so bring it in.
Because I have to. My environment is key to prepping a message. I'm turning that light switch off.
So at the office. So you're at the office.
I'm at the office.
You're doing the work at the office. Okay.
Yep.
Because some folks are off-site. Some folks Some folks sermon off-site and then do office work on-site. So
I do it wherever I can.
Wherever I can. But office.
But if I'm in the office, it's light switch off. It's a lamp on. I've got the candle lit, and I've got lo-fi beats playing. I've got a timer on my phone that will not allow me. It's an app called Force.
Yeah.
It won't allow me to use any other app.
Okay.
I've got to grow the tree.
Okay.
So it's a Pomodoro technique, basically.
Yeah.
Those 5 elements are in place before my pen hits the paper.
Okay.
So
and it's a pen too. You're going handwritten.
Well,
sometimes
that's a phrase.
Stylus.
It's really a marker hitting a whiteboard.
Oh, okay.
I have a sermon prep checklist. I go through 1 through 17 steps.
Oh, okay.
I've mastered this thing.
Okay,
I've mastered this thing. So
that's why you're on today. This is why you showed up. See, everybody, the other stuff was just like, this is it. This is why we're here.
Well, I've learned, when I was in Mississippi doing youth ministry, I was teaching 3 times a week.
Yeah, you've got to master the craft.
You got to master the craft,
and you've got to get more efficient. Like that's
right.
one of my biggest pet peeves right now is youth ministry friends that have been doing this for decades. That they talk about it still takes them pick a number as long as it did whenever they started. I'm like, dude, you've got to be getting faster.
Gotta get better.
Some weeks are hard, but on average, like your mile time should improve as you train more.
Yes.
I would hope.
You got to get more efficient.
Come on,
I'm all about it.
But 17-point checklist. Walk us through. So the 5 in the office.
Yeah.
Pen hits. I like that you're on the whiteboard to start.
Oh, have to be on the whiteboard.
That feels freeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
much more freeing than an open Word doc. An open Word doc is like, oh, this is never gonna happen. Okay.
Hey, I will say this: you can edit a bad page. You can't edit a blank page. Get to writing.
Come on.
Stop being a perfectionist and get to writing. So, I'm starting with the scripture, and I think the easiest thing, I always thought, what is the next step? And that's why I have a checklist now, because I always was asking, okay, what's the next step now? So when I read the passage multiple times, different translations, I'm listing out every truth I can find in that one passage. So if I list out 7 truths that I have to have a verse that supports the truth I listed out, I'm listing out all the truths. I'm looking at them as a whole. What is the one truth my pathos needs to be inspired by?
Okay.
And as I get the main point, Andy Stanley would say, you go for one target statement. As I get that, I wrap the whole message around it.
Okay.
I don't think we need 3-point sermons anymore. I think we need truth-supported points that go back to your target statement.
Okay. So not a 3-point argument, not a linear thing.
No,
For
just
you,
one
it's
idea
one key truth.
that has other truths supporting that one key truth. And once I do that, I'm at the whiteboard. I'm building the outline.
Okay.
And just trying to frame a message.
Is there a certain shape it takes? I mean, are you writing down, across, bubbles? Like I'm curious because I sit with the notebook and do the same thing. And so what is the literal shape that it takes?
Oh, it's crazy. It's a list formatted, right? All the truths. I'm drawing arrows, application, illustration, explanation. I'm all over the place with it. And I will say this. I think when it comes to the creative brainstorm of a sermon prep process, I don't think it looks the same every time.
Okay.
Because you're dealing with different texts.
Yeah.
You might be dealing with a parable, and the next day you're dealing with a pastoral,
epistle.
Pauline epistle. So it doesn't need to look the same every time.
That's good.
You're doing that, but you're finding that one truth, and then you're taking it to your congregation, and that's what you're preaching. That's what you're inspiring. So that's the answer, by the way.
Okay.
And I wish I would have known this a long time ago. That I'm trying to find the one answer, the one solution. That way, that first minute.
Yeah.
You're using it to introduce the pain point of the problem. That's the antithesis of what you found.
Yeah.
When you do that, look what happens. They're leaning in.
They want to know.
They're ready.
They want to
know. And you provide a good, maybe an opener story or illustration that relates to that problem.
You have heard it said, but I tell you, ...
Come on.
I'm in. Now you're in.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I've learned the hermeneutical side. Do those things right. You don't need all these points. You need one target statement that provides a pain point at the beginning that they'll want the answer to within your message. And I know how long you're good for. I would say that too.
Okay.
And don't go a minute over. I'm good for.
That's such a fast way to think about it, because I think so many people will write God. Okay, I'll pause here.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of people were like, oh man. I'm now rethinking all the times that I've been asked to preach somewhere. I'm like, how long do you want me to preach for?
Yeah.
And it being like whatever they say. I mean, functionally, like I know what I feel is about the right time for the content that I've prepared. But like the idea of like, man, no, I'm a really good 23-minute preacher, and just owning that versus the like, well, man, if you need me to go 40 or 30 or whatever, let me know. Like, no, man, like, no, yeah, that's good. Okay. So what is?
I mean,
Anthony, how long is your sermon good for?
I'm MJ. I'm 23.
23. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Goated. Yeah.
I can't do a minute over. Now I would say that's 23 minutes worth of teaching content, right? And then I'll do an invitation after that. But 23 is where I'm at, and I've just mastered that timing. I know it to be true. I set a timer on my Apple Watch.
Okay.
It'll vibrate and
almost
go
kind of groove into it, and
I know, like in the back of my mind, that timer's about to go off.
Yeah.
Because I just feel it.
Well, again, you do something long enough, you get a feel for it, right?
Yes.
It's the like at the gym now. I don't even need the 45-second clock whenever we do little intervals. Because I can feel my body like, okay, fine. Oh, there we go.
Yes.
You get a feel for it, and that's true for your audience too. I think that's one of the things for maybe somebody that would want to preach longer is you kind of probably gotta get them stretched into it. And I think that's everything else in your student's life right now is unfortunately 2 minutes to 10 minutes. And so you want to preach 40 minutes at them, man, they're just not going to retain it. And I think that's part of the conversation is like, what is actually like, not just like what you're interested in, but the retention level at the place, age, pathos that they're at right now.
Yes.
It matters. Yeah.
That's really good, man. So, don't go a minute over, and try to be concise and clear in your content, like that truth that you're bringing to your sheep. You want to make sure that it's accurate as well.
Yeah.
I've had too many sermons. I mean, I've been doing this over a decade that maybe have fringe on the heretical side. So
maybe want some redos.
Maybe you want some redos.
We take a redo on a couple of those. That's okay. That's okay.
But we got to be accurate as biblical communicators who exegete the text. We never want to eisegete. You know, there's pilots, there's doctors that have to be accurate in their work.
Right.
How much more for the preacher?
Amen for that. Right. I'm very, very, very happy to have an accurate pilot.
That's right. So all that being said, that's on the hermeneutical side.
Okay.
You've got to do well on the prep and the preaching hermeneutical.
That's all that happens before you even go do the thing.
That's all that happens.
And that is an important work. So give us just a few more of the 17. I mean, so I heard some of them in there of like reading it and rereading it. But what are some of the, maybe of the 17, what were some that like are recent additions, or maybe you're not on everybody else's list that you would want to make sure, like if people were building out their checklist, what's a couple you're like, man, I am surprised that more folks don't do.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of the checklist, anybody that wants this,
we can share. Yeah. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll put it out there. If you got it, we'll share it.
Yeah. I want to make everybody better. But I will say this: check the commentary on the checklist.
Yeah. Okay.
It's after your study.
Okay.
It's after you found the answer, the main point, and the commentary is for you to help you. Make sure you're in the guardrails, if you will. So it's commentaries. It's looking at different verbs, the subjects in the text, all that. Also building your outline. All those things are necessary parts. Intro, conclusion. That's a part of the checklist.
Did it go somewhere?
Yeah.
Second only to the first minute is the last few minutes of knowing that it has an end and that you made it all the way to the end. Really matters. Unfortunately, I've seen too many friends write sermons that start off really strong and the page just starts to lose a word count because we'll figure it out when we get there. No. Make sure you start it and you end it.
That's right. Yeah.
First quarter, fourth quarter.
I've been there. I'll just write invitation.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So that's been one of Chad's big conversation points in this last year of training is talking about invitation.
Yeah.
Because there has been this I think renewed sense of revival generation.
Sure.
Inviting folks to a life of discipleship. And for all the careful work and study that people have done in preparing their sermon to equally prepare their invitation as well. Because, man, just writing invite or invitation after, putting all the other work in, it's going to be the kind of gear shift that you really didn't want it to be, which is this and poignant and thoughtful, and then oopsie daisy.
They don't remember the first thing; they remember the last thing.
That's right. They're gonna remember. They're gonna remember in exactly this order: the very last thing you said, and then none of the rest of it, and then maybe the first thing if it was like intriguing enough. And so like if you're gonna struggle in the middle, not in the finish.
That's good. The late Wade Morris said he used to spend more time message prep on the invitation.
Yes, come on.
Than he would on the other content. So
Rightfully so.
it's good. It's good.
Okay, so what has though? So this is the question I wanted to follow up with this, because I know that there's been a process for you.
Sure.
And this has been a conversation piece in a lot of youth ministry. How has preaching and teaching maybe shifted or changed for you in the last 10 years, but most notably in the last few years, in a post-COVID reality, in a social media saturated age, in a place where even like middle school kids have cell phones? Like, how has that affected like the ways in which maybe you're thinking about things or preparing things?
So good.
Or like, how has that shifted? And maybe even surprise us with it hasn't, but there's some other considerations, because I do think it feels different. And I think some of our friends in ministry that have been doing it for 11, 20, 25 years are really wrestling with this. So help give us some wisdom.
Okay, we're going there, aren't we?
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
So I would say 3 things.
Okay.
I'd say engagement is higher than ever when you preach.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be a presentation. It has to be a conversation.
Is this some of that homiletical stuff? We've now
Yes.
moved from hermeneutics to homiletics.
That's right.
That the art of the presentation, it can't just be a well-written sermon.
It's got to be participation in the sermon.
But it's got to be okay.
Yeah.
Come on, say more. Come on.
You're right. Technology is there now.
Yeah.
How are you engaging?
They're in 2 places at once.
Yes.
we have we've achieved space-time travel. We really have. Yeah. They're in the room and out of the room.
So you know, technology. How can you involve that in such a way, because it's a part of their life? For some, it's their identity.
It's the fabric of their life.
That's
it's their
right.
identity. It's the thing that like they would physically hurt if they didn't have access to it. Yeah.
You know, it's harder for a student to put their cell phone in the middle of a table during a small group time than ever before.
Yeah.
So how are you engaging using their phones? I preach a message last week, and I, at the beginning of my sermon, found this survey online for free you could use. I think it was like Mentimeter or something.
Okay.
And I had everybody take out their phones, use a code, and we
like scan a QR kind of deal or whatever.
Scan a QR code kind of thing. And the introductory of my sermon was an engaging survey.
Okay.
We just looked at rankings.
Yeah.
Who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron?
Yeah.
What's better, Chick-fil-A or Whataburger?
Low stakes, high interest. Yeah.
So we did that. Everybody was locked in. They saw the bars moving and stuff like that.
I they were affecting change. I was affecting change.
It was so cool. Like, they're trying to fight to get their low team up higher. It was really cool. But it was engaging, and it set me up that the world is as challenging Jesus in his in their attempt to take his first place. Jesus is highest ranking, right? But how well did everybody participate and engage at the beginning of the sermon
to affect the change?
It was a conversation. I'm talking to them. They're talking back and yelling at me. Got them locked in. So I would say, number one, you got to engage more when you preach. If you're not letting them take notes,
and engagement is not just So engagement is not just I talked at them, but it's
talking with them.
No, it's like stopping along the way.
Yes,
right?
yes. Yeah. Like, hey, everybody, look at your hand. Do you see that design?
Yeah.
You know, that's unique. So engaging. By the way, engaging their 5 senses.
Okay, good. Yeah. We need these rubrics, because I think this is the thing that like we hear the word relationship, engagement, but then the imagination of like, how is this showing up?
Yes.
And so do a sensory check. In what ways are we inviting not just their ears, but their eyes, their touch?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So everybody, one sermon, everybody knows YMCA. Played in the middle of my sermon.
Make them dance?
Yeah. Everybody's YMCA in this thing. You know? They did it because they know it. And the truth was, man, if you know the scripture, you'll do it.
That's good.
So you're engaging that kind of stuff. And so I would say engagement needs to be higher than ever.
Yeah.
Number 2, I would say this. In the culture we live in, everybody wants to know the truth. There's truth tellers out there that will look at you and can see in you if you know what you're talking about or not.
Yeah.
So I would say, for the preacher, you have to be studied up and readied up.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're talking about.
Because the other app they have on their phones behind the social media is
Google.
They Googling, baby.
And
Did
AI.
you know that 78% of actually, Pastor, that's incorrect. That's actually that's actually factually in error. You're like, no, because they will.
Nowadays, Google's
will.
Bible.
Well,
right?
that's it. They just there's
believe
no,
anything off Google.
Well, you are even the Bible. Like they will Google the verse and see what shows up around it. And
Yes.
so, if you haven't anticipated the same, be prepared.
You better be prepared because the preaching conversation, it doesn't stop after the invitational song. It continues after you get off stage. There's many that come up and ask a deeper question.
Yeah.
And they want more.
Yeah.
You better be ready. The stuff you cut from your sermon because it was longer than 23 minutes to give it to them. Right, and to enter a small group conversation with them.
Well, and that drive the truth, I hope produces more questions.
That's right.
I think that's one of the things, because we want to proclaim the good news. We want to speak the good word, but more than just the proclamation, my hope is that the truth of it would push them to having those questions after, that you didn't just like say it and they do the thing that so many of us are frustrated by, just nod along and leave.
Sure.
Like that's real engagements when they're like, hold on, I'm going to ask you stuff after. Like that's the good. Yeah.
The questions are leading to application.
Yeah.
To put some handles on it.
When they are looking for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the whole goal for preaching, right? Life transformation.
That's it,
so, so I would say the third thing after engagement, after knowing the truth, it's being studied up. The third thing I would say, the last thing is they want to go deep. I've seen this transition and this change over the past decade is that they're not settling with surface level truth. They want to go deeper. And what does the scripture really have to say about it? What does the original language have to tell us about it? Tell us about the context and the audience back in the day of what they were dealing with so that we
What's
can relate.
What's the Galatian?
That's so good. But, they want to go deeper. And you got to be ready for that. And guess what? That actually takes you a little bit more prep time.
Yeah.
So, using things like enduringword.com or the Logos Bible study, just go deeper and get ready for that.
Yeah.
I would say.
Well, and maybe even to the point that you're preparing notes that aren't preached.
Sure.
But followed up. Like that's one of the things, to circle back to your engagement bit. I think too many folks utilize notes just as like fill in the blank from their sermon outline that they wrote. Man, in a QR code hyperlink world, dude, give them show your work, and you don't have to like read the article, but like link it or
That's
QR code it, or man, put it out there. Like this, like my favorite uses of social media that I wish more youth pastors would utilize is to fill in the gap. Dude, minute 24 to 27 that you wanted to share, ran out of time for, that sounds like a really great like Instagram or YouTube short to put out for them. Because again, it's the questions they have. It might even be pointed enough that it came from a question that they asked. Like there are ways to communicate beyond. Like it's the after, right? Like it doesn't end at when the invitation's over. The invitation doesn't end.
That's right.
It's so important. So,
so good.
So how are some of those things like? Man, like where are the ones that you're like, I'm so glad that we're doing this? Like where have you seen like the little win? Like, give the encouragement of like, when has it felt like it's been working? You talked about the survey, you talked about some other things. When has it felt like this has been like working and useful, and like keep pounding the pavement, keep doing it?
Sure. When it comes to preaching, obviously I would just say I've changed a lot in my study.
Okay.
And looking up kind of the important words in the passages I'm preaching, and looking up the original language, but tying it back in to the target statement I've set, to the application I want to share. I got to preach application every time, right? Because I'm wanting the audience, the pathos, to feel inspired to change.
Yeah.
But they will never feel inspired to change if they don't know what to change.
That's good.
So I'm just tying that stuff in and going a little deeper, but I'm not rushing the moments of response. And I'm giving an invitation to come to know Jesus, right? But I'm also allowing the believer to respond, to lay down a habitual sin at the altar, to grab a hand of a friend and begin praying and confessing. I'm not rushing those moments either. And there's moments, Zach, where the 3-minute invitation went 13 minutes. So I'm just leaving room. Obviously, the Holy Spirit is involved in this preaching process, right? Convicting the hearts, converting the hearts, by allowing the Holy Spirit to move so that they don't walk in, they don't leave the same way they walk in.
That's good.
So I think that's where we're seeing it work is we're allowing the response to be probably the most important element, but before the response, we're making sure we do our job in prep.
That's good. That's good. Well, Anthony, thanks for coming by today, man. Like for folks that wanted to follow with you, get connected, get 17-step checkpoint sermon list because they're hungry for that kind of thing. How do folks find you, follow you, get connected with you?
Yeah, so on all social media platforms, I think it's easy @ Anthony Vargas. And you can go to my website and get some more contact information, anthonyvargas.org. Easy as that. And you'll be sure to find my email. I'd love to email anybody the PDFs and stuff like that. Got sermon templates, first 90 days checklist. Like if you're starting off somewhere new, what does that look like? ... And I'd love to help anybody out.
So good, so good. Well, my friend, always a joy to have you on the podcast. Thanks for being here today. Yeah, buddy.
It's been fun.
Snap.